Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a small, forgotten penny sitting in a dusty jar could change the direction of your entire financial life. It sounds unbelievable, almost like a story people tell but never actually witness. Yet today, you're about to find out why one ordinary-looking coin, the 1964 Denver-minted Lincoln penny, has been catching the eyes of collectors, investors, and wealth builders across the country, and why some rare examples have soared in value to well over a staggering $964,000. Yes, a penny worth more than most houses. And no, this isn't a myth. This is a moment that could reshape how you view every single coin ever placed in your hand if you're someone who has always dreamed of living a wealthier, freer lifestyle, where opportunity isn't something reserved for the few, but something you can create. Then this story, this penny, may be the key that finally opens that door. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what makes this 1964 D penny so valuable, what to look for, what separates a $1 million example from pocket change, and why time is running out for anyone hoping to profit from this hidden treasure. But before we get there, let me take you back for a moment. Imagine the United States in 1964. The country is changing rapidly. The demand for coins is exploding. The mint is under immense pressure to produce billions of cents. And in Denver, machines are running nonstop, striking pennies at record speeds. Most of these coins would go on to live ordinary lives, pass through cash registers, dropped under couches, lost in car seats. But a few tiny outliers, a few accidents, a few rare, almost magical mistakes would become some of the rarest modern pennies ever created. These are the coins serious collectors hunt like treasure, the coins investors quietly buy and hold, and the coins that have shocked auction houses with jaw-dropping prices that push close to $1 million. And somewhere in the world, one of those coins might still be waiting for someone, maybe even you, to uncover it. Now, of course, not every 1964 D penny is worth six figures. If they were, everyone would be rich right now, and imagine how fun that would be. Grocery stores would never give change again. But within this date and mint mark, there are a few extremely rare varieties and high-grade examples that have created an entirely new level of demand. So what makes a 1964 D penny explode in value? It comes down to three powerful elements: condition, rarity, and something even more elusive: mistakes. The kind of mistakes the mint never intended to leave behind. The kind of errors that turn ordinary coins into collector's gold. But before we go any deeper, let's build a little suspense. Because the truth is, the most valuable 1964 D pennies often don't look special at first glance. They appear simple, brown, unassuming, almost boring. And that's the frightening part. Many people have thrown away fortunes without ever realizing it. Maybe you've done it too. Maybe a coin that could have paid off your mortgage sat in a drawer, hidden behind a stack of old receipts, and you never knew. That fear of missing out on something huge is exactly why collectors pay attention. Because this coin right here has already proven its power in high mint state grades. Especially those graded MS66, MS67, and above, values rise dramatically. The reason is simple. With billions of coins struck, finding one that survived 6 decades without scratches, discoloration, or wear is nearly impossible. Think about how many hands a penny goes through in just a year. Now imagine flawlessly preserving one since 1964. That rarity creates a financial explosion. And then we get to the truly extraordinary. The errors: double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, wrong planchet strikes. These are the unicorns collectors chase. Some of these errors are so rare that only a handful are known to exist, and collectors with deep pockets, very deep pockets, will spend incredible amounts to own one. That this is how we reach today's unbelievable market realities, where a pristine, exceptional 1964 D penny can command prices approaching $964,000. A penny worth nearly $1 million. Just imagine telling your family that one coin you found in an old box is now worth more than a luxury home in the suburbs. They might stare at you in disbelief. You might stare at yourself in disbelief. Now you might be wondering, how do you know if you have one of these extremely valuable examples? This is where your eyes, patience, and a little knowledge become your greatest financial tools. Start with the basics. Flip the coin over and examine the surfaces carefully. Are there scratches, marks, discolorations? If so, that lowers value. But if it looks clean, shiny, sharp, you may have something special. Next, check the mint mark. That small D under the date. If it looks doubled, repunched, or oddly shaped, you could be staring at a hidden treasure. And don't forget errors like off-center strikes. If part of the design looks shifted or incomplete, that's not a flaw. That's profit. Still, the most important step is grading. A professionally graded coin is not just authenticated, it becomes a verified asset. Collectors trust graded coins, investors trust graded coins, and auction houses won't touch high-value pieces without certification. That small plastic slab from PCGS or NGC can be the doorway between a $50 coin and a $964,000 coin. But here's the urgent truth you need to hear: time is running out. More people than ever are digging through their old coins. Collectors are aggressively buying up high-grade pennies. Investors are treating rare coins like miniature pieces of real estate. And every day that passes, more rare examples are taken off the market forever. The window of opportunity is closing, and if you wait too long, the big discoveries may already be in someone else's hands. Imagine the regret of knowing you could have acted but didn't. Imagine finding out years from now that your own coin, one that sat in a jar for decades, could have funded a new car, a business, a dream vacation, or even a comfortable retirement. That ache is real. Don't let it happen to you. And yet, imagine the opposite. Imagine the excitement of calling your family into the room as you show them the grading results. Imagine logging into your auction account and seeing bids climb into six-figure territory. Imagine holding a single penny that gives you power, not because of its size, but because of what it represents. Opportunity, possibility, and the chance to rewrite your financial future. That's what this story is really about. Not just a coin, but a moment, your moment, to step into a new chapter of wealth creation. So keep watching closely, because we're about to reveal the most important details collectors look for, the red flags they avoid, and the subtle indicators that separate a $10 penny from a $1 million dream. This is where fortunes are made, and where many people unknowingly walk away from them. As you examine your coins, pay attention to the coin strike. The stronger and sharper the details, the hair on Lincoln's head, the crisp lettering on the reverse, the more desirable it becomes. Faint details? Lower value. Sharp details? That's where your heartbeat should start to rise just a little. Also look for original mint luster. That swirling, cartwheel shine that moves when you tilt the coin under light. If your 1964 D penny still has that glow after 60 years, you may have something extremely scarce. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of pennies you haven't touched in years, and discovering that one of those copper-brown coins could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the truth most people never hear. A simple 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the same kind you might have walked past thousands of times, is changing the lives of ordinary Americans. And today, you're about to find out why this unassuming 1-cent coin has collectors paying as much as $968,000, and why some insiders believe the right specimen could push into the multimillion-dollar range. If you've ever wondered whether your old spare change could be your ticket to a wealthier life, don't blink now. It all starts with a quiet reality. Americans throw away fortunes without even knowing it. Attics, basements, junk drawers, inherited boxes from parents or grandparents. Hidden inside them could be coins that wealthy collectors are desperately hunting for. And the 1968 no-mint mark Lincoln penny sits right at the center of this modern-day gold rush. For decades, this coin went unnoticed. It blended perfectly into circulation, passed from hand to hand, grocery store to gas station, paycheck to pocket. But under the surface, something remarkable was happening. A small number of these coins were struck with such exceptional quality, and under such unusual circumstances, that they are now considered crown jewels of the Lincoln series. Before long, collectors noticed something strange. Certain 1968 pennies had an unusually sharp strike. Some showed peculiar die characteristics. Others were struck in extraordinary condition, despite being from an era when coins were handled without much care. And because they bear no mint mark, they were minted in Philadelphia, where quality control in the late 1960s was, to put it nicely, unpredictable. That unpredictability is exactly what created today's rarest survivors. Only a tiny handful of examples remain in near-flawless condition, and that scarcity is the core of their astronomical value. But here's where the story gets even more gripping. Imagine a wealthy collector, deep in a high-end auction, waiting for a single coin to appear on the block. When the 1968 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition finally shows up, bidding explodes. Tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. Suddenly, someone throws in a bid so high the entire room freezes. That's how we reached the current market reality. $968,000 for a single penny. A penny. And yet, the whispers among top-tier collectors say that if a perfect gem-state example crossed an auction block today, 7 figures is not just possible. It's expected. Maybe you're wondering, how is it possible that a 1-cent coin made in the millions can now compete with luxury homes, exotic cars, and investment properties? The answer lies in rarity, condition, collector demand, and something far more human: emotion. People don't just buy rare coins. They buy stories. They buy legacy. They buy the feeling of owning something that almost no one else on earth can claim. And when it comes to the 1968 penny, that emotional story is powerful. An everyday coin that hid in plain sight for half a century, quietly building a following until the world realized what it truly was. Now here's where fear and opportunity collide. The fear? That people who own these coins will never know their true worth. That they'll sell them in yard sales, coin jars, or pocket change piles for pennies. Literally pennies. While others walk away with life-changing wealth. It has happened too many times to count. But the opportunity is bigger than ever. The market for rare coins is exploding. Collectors are paying at levels never seen before. And the demand for high-grade 1968 pennies is at an all-time high. The window is open now, but no one knows how long it will stay that way. So what exactly should you look for? And how do you know whether your 1968 penny could be the next 6-figure or even million-dollar discovery? First, condition is everything. Coins with sharp details, clear lettering, minimal surface marks, and original luster are the prime candidates. Even a slight difference in condition can be the difference between a $20 coin and a $200,000 coin. Think of it like vintage cars. A beat-up old shell and a perfectly restored classic might technically be the same model, but their prices couldn't be farther apart. Second, authentication. Professional grading from reputable services like PCGS and NGC is essential. A graded, certified gem-quality 1968 penny? That's the golden ticket. Of course, there's one more twist: variety hunting. Some collectors speculate that certain dies from 1968 produced subtly different characteristics, minute variations in lettering, spacing, and design that could push a coin's value into the elite tier. These subtle differences spark bidding wars, especially when a rare variety appears in extraordinary condition. And yes, those are the coins that silently creep into million-dollar territory. Imagine the excitement of discovering one of these in a coin roll or family collection. Imagine being the person who finds it after decades of others overlooking it. That quiet sense of victory, mixed with a fortune-changing opportunity, is what drives collectors wild. You might be thinking, why haven't more people talked about this before? Why isn't every news channel warning Americans to check their change right now? The truth is simple. When a market is this good, insiders like to keep it quiet. Rare coin collectors, auction houses, high-net-worth individuals, they understand that the fewer people searching, the more valuable these finds remain. But the window is shifting. More people are waking up to the reality that their old coins could be worth far more than they ever imagined. And that's why watching this video might be one of the most important money decisions you make this year. Suddenly, the idea of living a wealthier lifestyle doesn't seem so distant, does it? Not when a penny, an item so common you barely notice it, is capable of producing a sum that can erase debt, buy property, or build generational security. But the urgency is real. As more coins get graded, more collections surface, and more investors enter the coin market, rarity becomes sharper and competition becomes fiercer. Wealth flows to those who act early. Always has, always will. Still, let's pause for a second. When was the last time you checked the bottom of that drawer in your kitchen? Or the old piggy bank from your childhood? Or that dusty coffee can your grandfather kept in the garage? If you're like most people, probably never. And that's exactly why these million-dollar finds continue to surface in the most unexpected places. Ironically, the world hides its treasures in the most ordinary things. Yet there's an even more dramatic cliffhanger waiting for you. Experts warn that another major price jump may be approaching. With gold, silver, and tangible asset markets rising, rare coins are becoming safe haven investments. That means prices could leap again, fast. The next record-breaking sale could happen at any moment. And the coin that sets the new record could be a 1968 penny just like the one you might already own, sitting unnoticed, waiting. So here's the real question. Will you be one of the people who takes action? Or one of the people who later says, I wish I had checked? Wealth doesn't wait for anyone. It rewards curiosity, awareness, and timing. And today, the timing couldn't be better. If you have 1968 pennies, examine them closely. If you have collections from relatives, dig into them. If you've never looked through your spare change, start today. You are not just hunting for a coin. You are hunting for opportunity, for possibility, for a moment that could change everything. And as you reach this final moment, consider this one last thought. The next life-changing 1968 penny is already out there. It already exists. The only question left is, who will find it first? Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a small, forgotten penny sitting in a dusty drawer is secretly worth more than your car, your mortgage payments, or even your entire retirement fund. Sounds unbelievable, right? But today we're diving into a story where the impossible becomes real because the 1969 Lincoln penny, yes, the little copper coin millions of people have handled without a second thought, has been selling for values reaching as high as $969,000, and in some rare cases climbing into the millions. And the real question is, do you have one hiding somewhere in your home right now? Before you shrug it off, remember this. The people who struck gold with this coin weren't experts. They weren't collectors. They were everyday Americans who simply paid attention at the right time. That tiny moment of curiosity changed their lives. So keep watching because by the time this video ends, you'll know exactly what to look for and why one of these pennies might be the hidden key to a level of wealth you never imagined. It all starts in 1969, a year overflowing with historic moments. The moon landing, Woodstock, the first steps of the digital revolution. And tucked quietly within all that chaos, the Denver Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. Most of them, ordinary, common, the type that jingles in your pocket, gets tossed in a tip jar, forgotten in a couch cushion. But among these billions, a rare handful were struck with such extraordinary precision, such remarkable clarity, and such unusual die characteristics that collectors today are willing to pay life-changing money to get their hands on them. That alone should get your heart beating a little faster, because rarity is only half the equation. Demand is the real powerhouse. And for the 1969 D penny, demand isn't just strong, it's ferocious. As more investors, collectors, and wealthy buyers enter the coin market looking for alternative assets, high-grade specimens of this coin are rapidly becoming the new status symbol. Some call it copper royalty. Others call it the millionaire penny. Whatever name you prefer, the story stays the same. The right one can set you on a new financial path. But what makes one 1969 D penny worth a single cent and another worth nearly $1 million? That's where things get fascinating. You're looking for perfection in a world where perfection was never expected. Imagine a coin struck so clean that every line of Abraham Lincoln's suit is crisp, every tiny hair on his portrait is sharp, and the fields, the flat areas around the design, look like flawless, mirror-like pools. Coins like these weren't made intentionally. They were accidents of precision, flukes of the minting process. And because the Denver Mint was a busy place, churning out hundreds of millions of coins each day, conditions like these were extremely rare. Now imagine owning one of those flukes. Maybe it's sitting in a jar of old change you inherited. Maybe it's in a forgotten coffee can in the garage. Maybe you spent years tossing pennies aside because, let's be honest, who really thinks about them? But suddenly every penny looks like a potential treasure. And yes, it should. Just wait, things get even more intense. The highest value 1969 D pennies typically fall into what professional graders call the mint state category. That means the coin has never been circulated, never pocket-worn, never rattled around with keys or loose change. You might be thinking, who keeps a penny untouched for more than 50 years? Apparently more people than you'd expect. But still not enough to make these coins common today. In fact, finding one in mint condition is so unlikely that when it does happen, collectors are willing to practically throw money at it. And with one of these coins recently reaching a staggering $969,000 on the market, the urgency to check your own stash has never been higher. It's almost funny, isn't it? For decades, financial advisors told us to look for big opportunities, to invest in real estate, stocks, businesses. But nobody ever mentioned the power of a copper coin worth 1/100th of a dollar. Maybe they should have. But here's where you need to stay alert. Not every shiny 1969 D penny is a jackpot. Only the rarest examples reach the upper price tiers. So how do you know if yours has potential? Start by studying its luster. A mint state coin looks almost like it's glowing from within. Tilt it under a light. If it dazzles you, that's a good sign. Next, look for sharp detail. Lincoln's bow tie should look crisp enough to almost pinch with your fingers. The word liberty should stand tall and clear. The date should be sharp, not soft. And of course, there's the condition. Any scratches, dents, discoloration, or fingerprints can dramatically affect value. Yes, even a tiny fingerprint can cost you thousands. Suddenly that childhood habit of smudging coins doesn't seem so innocent anymore. Does it? But don't worry. Even circulated examples have value. Maybe not in the hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands is still a pretty exciting return on 1 cent. And that's the beauty of this treasure hunt. The upside is huge, and the downside is almost nothing. Before you rush to sell, though, there's something critical you need to understand. Timing matters. Right now, the coin market is in a powerful upswing. More people are entering the collectible space than ever before. Wealthy investors are diversifying. Millennials are inheriting estates. Boomers are liquidating their collections. All these forces are pushing rare coin prices to historic highs. And the 1969 D penny is one of the stars of this modern gold rush. But markets change. Trends shift. If there's ever been a moment to take advantage of the demand for rare American coins, this is it. I'm not saying panic, but I am saying pay attention, because as fast as prices rise, they can also stabilize. We're slow, and missing the peak could mean missing out on tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Which brings us to the question that keeps viewers glued to the end of videos like this. How exactly do you sell a rare coin like this safely, profitably, and without being taken advantage of? That's where most people get nervous. And rightfully so. Selling a rare coin is not like selling a couch on Craigslist. One wrong move and the fear becomes real. You could hand $1 million penny to someone who gives you $50 and walks away smiling. That scenario has happened before. And if we're being honest, it will happen again. But not to you. Because if you're watching this, you're already ahead of 99% of people. The key is certification. If you believe you have a high-value 1969 D penny, you must have it professionally graded by a top-tier service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations don't just authenticate the coin, they encapsulate it in a protective holder, give it an official grade, and register it in their systems. That verified grade is what skyrockets the coin's value and attracts serious buyers. Once your coin is graded, selling becomes much safer and much more profitable. Major auction houses, high-end numismatic dealers, and private collectors compete fiercely for coins like this. That competition is what drives prices into the 6- and 7-figure range. If you ever wanted to watch wealthy buyers fight over something in your possession, this is your moment. And the best part? You don't need to be an expert. You don't need deep knowledge of coins. You don't need special equipment. All you need is awareness, curiosity, and the willingness to check that dusty jar of pennies you've been ignoring for years. That simple action could shift your entire financial life. Imagine paying off every debt. Imagine upgrading your home. Imagine having total financial freedom from a coin most people step over on the sidewalk. It sounds dramatic, but history keeps proving it's real. This is why rare coins continue to be one of the most surprising wealth-building tools in America. Now here's the final cliffhanger. The part that keeps people awake at night after videos like this. Somewhere out there, right now, maybe in a basement, in an attic box, in a forgotten drawer, sits another 1969 D penny worth nearly $1 million. It's real. It exists. Welcome back. Before we get into anything else, I need you to pause for a moment and imagine this. A single coin, something so ordinary that millions of Americans have unknowingly tossed it into jars, drawers, and donation boxes, now selling for up to millions of dollars, with a current verified market value of $975,000. And the most shocking part? It's a coin you may already have in your home. The 1975 D Lincoln penny. A coin so familiar, yet so underestimated. It has quietly become one of the most sought-after 1-cent pieces in the world. People are pulling life-changing wealth straight out of old coffee cans and shoeboxes. If that doesn't make you want to check every penny you own, I don't know what will. But this story isn't just about a rare coin. It's about a hidden opportunity that most people overlook until it's too late. So, stay with me until the end, because there is a twist you'll want to know before you ever sell a single coin you find. This penny's rise to extraordinary value begins in a time when America was changing fast. In 1975, the Denver Mint was producing billions of pennies. No one expected anything unusual, certainly nothing historic. And that's where the magic begins. Because when billions of anything are created, the slightest human error, mechanical slip, or design anomaly becomes a treasure. A tiny imperfection suddenly transforms a common coin into a financial lightning bolt. And while most collectors were distracted by silver dollars and commemoratives, a small handful of 1975 D pennies slipped through the cracks. Coins with striking errors, doubled dies, and die imperfections that today are considered museum-level pieces. For years, these coins sat unnoticed, riding through decades of pocket change, recessions, and recoveries. Some probably lived entire lifetimes inside old jars in the back of kitchen cupboards. Imagine someone using a $975,000 penny to pay for a gumball machine in 1984. It's funny, until you start wondering if you've done the same thing without knowing it. What makes the rarest 1975 D penny so valuable is not just scarcity. It's the perfect storm of rarity, historical timing, undeniable collector demand, and the emotional power of discovery. Today, collectors from across the country are locked in bidding wars for the highest grade errors from this year. One specific sample, authenticated at the top end of the grading scale, reached the staggering market value we talk about today. When a 1-cent coin commands close to $1 million, it creates a ripple effect across the entire market. Suddenly, even average coins from that year experience rising interest, and every seller gains more leverage. This isn't a bubble. It's a reshaping of value. But here's where the story turns from fascinating to urgent. Because right now, across America, people are unknowingly selling rare 1975 D Lincoln pennies for pennies. Some are handing them over at garage sales. Some cash them in at Coinstar machines without a second thought. And many people, especially those who inherited coin jars from parents or grandparents, don't realize that they may be sitting on one of the most profitable opportunities of their lifetime. That's the part that should make you pause. A single oversight, a lack of awareness, could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the question becomes, how do you know if you have the right one? The truth is, the $1 million 1975 D penny doesn't look like something out of a museum. It looks normal. That's what makes it so dangerous to overlook. You're searching for the tiniest clues. Strong doubling on the date or lettering, unusual metal texture, off-center strikes, die cracks, or a coin that simply feels different from the rest. And while many coins won't match these high-value markers, some will. Somebody's coin always makes it to the finish line. And someone's ordinary penny always becomes the next six-figure headline. Why shouldn't it be yours? But let's go deeper, because having the coin is only half the story. Knowing how to sell it can be just as valuable as the coin itself. Most people rush. They get excited, they see a shiny coin that looks slightly different, and they end up underselling it because they don't understand how the market works. Rare coins do not behave like everyday collectibles. They behave like investments, and investors need strategy. The wealthiest collectors don't just buy coins. They compete for legacy pieces. They chase the stories behind the metal. They want provenance, documentation, and certification. Once a coin is graded and authenticated, its value isn't just protected, it multiplies. But here's the part no one talks about. Coins like the rare 1975 D penny are not just valuable because collectors want them. They're valuable because there are so few of them left in high grade. Time destroys quality. Circulation wears down detail. And every year, coin after coin gets damaged, lost, or melted down. So when a high-grade example appears, the market panics. Buyers start acting with urgency. And urgency drives price. That is how a 1-cent coin reaches an asking price near 7 figures. And while this may sound like some elite collector's game, it isn't. The truth is, most people who discover these valuable coins are ordinary individuals, retired workers, veterans, nurses, warehouse employees, or people who simply decided to check their change for once. They weren't experts. They weren't scholars. They were just curious. And curiosity is often the bridge between everyday life and extraordinary opportunity. But don't make the mistake of assuming these coins are gone. That's the biggest myth in the coin world. People think all the rare ones have already been found. Not even close. In fact, the reason collectors are so hungry for 1975 D pennies today is because they know that most of the rare ones are still out there, hidden in private homes, untouched in old coin albums, sitting quietly in forgotten collections. The real hunt is happening now. And if you believe that opportunity only happens to lucky people, remember this: luck favors the person who takes action. Still, let's be real for a moment. Not every 1975 D penny will make you rich. Some might not even be worth $1. And that's where fear stops a lot of people from checking. They think, what if I don't find anything? What if it's a waste of time? But what if it isn't? What if the one coin that changes your financial future is already in your possession? Fear can stop you or it can motivate you. One of those choices leads to regret. The other leads to discovery. And speaking of discovery, there's something else you need to know, something most sellers overlook entirely. The absolute highest prices never come from selling your coin immediately. They come from timing the market, selecting the right auction house, and allowing collectors to fight for your coin rather than asking them to simply buy it. Wealth is created when competition begins. And the 1975 D penny is one of the most competitive coins in today's market. But here's the twist that very few people are prepared for. The value of this coin is still rising. Every year, as more collectors enter the market and more people recognize the rarity of these airstrike pennies, demand increases. The supply, on the other hand, decreases. And that imbalance creates something powerful: exponential value growth. Meaning the $975,000 price tag we talk about today may not be the ceiling. It may just be the beginning. If that doesn't give you a slight chill of excitement, check your pulse. Still, we need to talk about something else, something that will determine how much wealth you can extract from your old coins. You are competing with time. Time will either be your ally or your enemy. The longer an unprotected coin sits ungraded, the greater the chance it gets damaged. And the moment a high-value coin receives even the smallest scratch, its value can drop by tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine losing a house because a coin rubbed against a paperclip. Sounds dramatic, but it happens more often than you think. This is why serious collectors and wealthy investors handle coins like priceless artifacts. Because they are. A rare 1975 D Lincoln penny is not just copper. It's a tangible asset, a historical artifact, a generational wealth tool, a potential retirement multiplier. And for some people, it becomes the bridge between the life they have and the life they want. But now we reach the part you've been waiting for. The cliffhanger I promised you from the very beginning. Because despite everything we've talked about, the rarity, the demand, the errors, the value, there is one detail that determines whether your 1975 D penny could be worth millions. And it's a detail: imagine discovering that a simple penny sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or an old coffee can could be your doorway to a completely different financial future. Not a fantasy, not a wish, but a real opportunity hiding in plain sight. Today, we're talking about one of the most surprising, life-changing coins in American history. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin whose rare varieties have sold for jaw-dropping amounts, including a current market value reaching as high as $978,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. Penny worth more than most luxury homes. And if you think that sounds impossible, keep watching. Many people thought the same until the bids started rolling in. The real story behind this coin isn't just about metal and minting. It's about the people who held onto a piece of pocket change without knowing they were holding a fortune. It's about luck, timing, and preparation. It's about the possibility that right now, your financial turning point might be sitting somewhere in your house. And the clock is ticking because these coins are disappearing into private collections fast. Blink long enough, and the opportunity may already belong to someone else. The journey of the 1978 penny begins during a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of coins a year. Most were ordinary. Most were worth exactly 1 cent. But among them were a few that slipped through the cracks of perfection. Tiny errors, slight anomalies, subtle differences invisible to the untrained eye. And as collectors know, mistakes, when rare enough, transform common coins into silent treasures. This coin is the definition of that transformation. Imagine telling a friend, "I just sold a penny for nearly $1 million. They might laugh until you show them the bank deposit. But here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night. The valuable version of this penny isn't easy to spot. It's not glowing, it's not oversized, and unfortunately, it doesn't come with a sign taped to it saying, "I'm worth $978,000. It looks just like any other brown, aging cent tossed into circulation nearly half a century ago. That's where knowledge becomes power. And that power becomes money, serious money. The people who profit from rare coins aren't always experts. They're everyday Americans who decided to look twice. They're retirees cleaning out an attic, a mother rolling up loose change, a grandfather sorting through old boxes, a young worker who noticed something different about a coin he received with morning coffee. What separates them from everyone else is simple. They paid attention. They acted. They didn't leave their fortune to sit unrecognized for another decade. And if you're watching this, you're already ahead of millions of people who never realized what they had. Of course, the question every viewer wants answered is, what exactly makes a 1978 penny worth up to millions? The secret lies in its rare die varieties and minting inconsistencies. While the majority of 1978 pennies were struck normally, a limited number were created using dies that were misaligned, overused, or imperfect. The result? Subtle doubling on the lettering, anomalies on Lincoln's profile, and inconsistencies on the reverse that turn a humble cent into a high-value specimen. And when collectors compete for the best examples, bidding wars erupt. It's like watching two people fight over a painting because in a way that's what these rare coins are. Art created by accident. But here's the part that might send a chill down your spine. Most people who own these rare pennies never knew it. They spent them. They lost them. They tossed them into parking lot change trays or donation jars. Every time one of those rare examples disappears, the value of the remaining few inches higher. Fewer survivors mean bigger paydays. And the people who know this are already searching. You might be wondering if it's worth the effort to look through your old jars, drawers, or inherited boxes. The answer? Absolutely. Because finding one rare penny is like winning a financial lottery, but one where you actually have control. And honestly, it's fun. There's a thrill to the search, a spark of possibility that returns every time you flip over a coin and think, could this be the one? It's almost addictive. Don't say I didn't warn you. And if you're thinking, well, I probably don't have anything valuable, remember this. Neither did the people who found theirs. They weren't wealthy. They weren't experts. They were curious. And that curiosity paid off in a way that changed their lives. So before you assume your jar of pennies is worthless, ask yourself a better question. What if it isn't? Let's talk about condition, because that's where fortunes are truly made. A 1978 penny in average circulated shape will not fetch you thousands. But the rare varieties, especially in near-perfect condition, have reached astronomical prices. Imagine a crisp, clean, sharply struck coin. No scratches, no wear, rich original color. These are the coins collectors dream about. These are the coins auction houses spotlight. And these are the coins that don't just sell. They ignite bidding wars. The kind where people don't stop until someone is holding a record-breaking cent. One of the biggest emotional triggers in coin collecting is fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of letting a valuable opportunity slip through your fingers. Fear of discovering too late that something you once owned could have changed your life. That fear is real. But so is the excitement, the thrill, and the possibility that one search could reveal a coin worth more than a luxury SUV, a full year's salary, or in some cases, an entire home. Ask yourself, how many chances like that do you get in life? And here's a humorous thought to lighten things up before things get too intense. Imagine going to pay for a cup of coffee with loose change, handing over a penny worth $978,000, and the cashier says, "Thank you, have a nice day." That's the kind of moment that keeps collectors laughing and searching. Because yes, it could happen. This is why urgency matters. These coins aren't multiplying. They're vanishing. Every year, more are hoarded, sold, lost, or damaged. The supply is shrinking fast and demand is climbing. Time works against the person who waits, but it works in favor of the person who acts. You don't need to be a collector to profit from rare coins. You just need to start. You need to search. You need to look. The treasure isn't buried. It's already in your possession. You just haven't checked yet. The world's wealthiest individuals understand something powerful. Opportunity doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes wealth hides behind the ordinary. A penny, a dusty box, a forgotten drawer. The most life-changing discoveries are rarely dramatic, they're subtle. But once revealed, they rewrite your future. And the 1978 no-mint mark penny is one of the greatest examples of that quiet potential. As you listen to this, picture your future self. The version of you who acted. The version who searched through their coins, found something extraordinary, made the decision to sell, and stepped into a new chapter of financial confidence. Now picture the other version, the one who shrugged, didn't search, and discovered years later that they once owned a fortune and didn't know it. Which version do you want to be? Some people look at a penny and see a penny. Others look at a penny and see possibility. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. The moment you choose to search, to learn, to understand, you step into a world where opportunity doesn't slip past you. It works for you. And here is the cliffhanger that has kept collectors fascinated for decades. The most valuable 1978 pennies have still not been found. They're out there, somewhere. Maybe in circulation, maybe in a jar, maybe in a home just like yours. Imagine watching this video today and finding the million-dollar penny tomorrow. It has happened before, can happen again. Before this video ends, here's the final reminder, the kind that stays with you long after the screen goes dark. Wealth doesn't always come from new opportunities. Sometimes it comes from recognizing the value of what's already in your hands. Your search starts now. And who knows, the next extraordinary discovery might have your name on it. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and realizing that a single penny, one you might have tossed in a drawer, dropped in your car cup holder, or handed to a cashier without a second thought, was actually worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet that is the reality behind one of America's most surprising treasures. The 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin hiding in plain sight, quietly selling in today's market for up to an astonishing $979,000. And if you think that's impressive, wait until you hear why some of these coins could soon climb toward multimillion-dollar territory. Yes, a penny worth more than a luxury home. But before we dive into the numbers, here's a simple question. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Most people can't remember. We've trained ourselves to ignore them, those tiny copper-colored coins that feel almost worthless. And yet, what if ignoring them has been one of the most expensive mistakes America has ever made? What if your financial breakthrough has been sitting in your pocket for decades? The truth is, wealth often hides in the places we least expect. Sometimes it hides in the smallest things, literally. Because the story of the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a story about a rare coin. It's a story about awareness, timing, opportunity, and the courage to act when most people don't. And those who act early often become the ones who rewrite their financial destiny. As you listen closely, you might just discover that your path to a wealthier lifestyle doesn't require luck, just knowledge and the willingness to check one small place you've overlooked for years. Let's rewind the clock to 1979. America was shifting economically, culturally, technologically. The country was preparing for a new era, and the U.S. Mint was working overtime to meet overwhelming demand for currency. Billions of pennies were produced. Most were ordinary, everyday coins destined to circulate without recognition. But among them existed the uncommon, the unexpected, and the astonishing. The no-mint mark 1979 penny, struck in Philadelphia, was one of those coins that quietly separated itself from the rest. Though millions were made, only a microscopic fraction survive today in flawless, untouched condition. Think of it like this: billions of pennies were born, but only a tiny handful grew up to be wealthy. A bit like high school, isn't it? So what makes this penny so incredibly valuable? Three things: rarity, condition, and market behavior. Rarity is the foundation, but rarity alone isn't enough. A rare penny covered in scratches isn't going to pay off your mortgage. What drives price into the six-figure, and now nearly seven-figure range, is the combination of rarity and pristine condition. Collectors call it mint state, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. But here's where it gets interesting. Fewer than a handful of 1979 no-mint mark pennies are known to be in ultra-high grades. And every year, the number becomes smaller as coins naturally age, discolor, oxidize, or become permanently damaged. Meanwhile, demand continues to rise. New collectors enter the market every day. Wealthy investors diversify into tangible assets. Auction houses report record-breaking results across dozens of categories. And while people obsess over gold, diamonds, and real estate, the penny continues to surprise everyone, shattering expectations with every major sale point. One such sale shocked the coin world when a 1979 no-mint mark penny in pristine condition sold for $979,000. Yes, almost $1 million. And although it may seem like a random miracle, it wasn't luck. It was the perfect storm of demand, rarity, historical significance, and collector obsession. Some collectors, especially the elite, aren't just buying coins. They're buying legacy. They're buying a symbol of rarity that stands out in an ocean of ordinary. But this is where the story becomes even more compelling. You might be thinking, so what does this have to do with me? After all, you're probably not a coin dealer, not a historian, and not a collector. You're someone who wants to secure a better future. Someone who understands that opportunity doesn't wait. Someone who knows that sometimes wealth arrives disguised as something most people ignore. And that is exactly why you should care about this coin. Because thousands of Americans have found rare pennies in places you wouldn't believe: old jars, forgotten boxes, dresser drawers, garage shelves, storage units, and inherited collections. The fear of missing out creeps in when you realize anyone could have owned that $979,000 penny. And the excitement comes from knowing someone just like you actually did. The only difference between them and everyone else? They checked. The modern coin market moves fast. Prices rise and fall like waves, but the rarest coins continue to climb, especially when supply can never increase. Every high-profile auction pushes new collectors into the market. Every record-breaking sale inspires someone new to start searching. And every trend points to one truth: the era of rare coin investing is only getting stronger. So what exactly should you be looking for in your own 1979 penny? First, check for the absence of a mint mark. If there is no little letter under the date, no D, no S, nothing at all, you're on the right track. That means your penny was made in Philadelphia. Now examine the coin's surface. Does it shine? Does it have minimal scratches? Does it look like it hasn't lived a hard life inside pockets, purses, and cash registers? The cleaner the coin, the bigger the potential. Some viewers discover a coin with what appears to be mirror-like surfaces, a sign of a higher grade. Others find sharp edges, crisp details in Lincoln's beard, or a smooth, bright background that looks nearly untouched. And every time someone looks closer, hope rises. Could this be the next six-figure penny? Or better yet, could it be the next seven-figure one? Of course, humor sneaks in for many people. Because let's be honest, nothing feels stranger than holding a penny you suddenly treat like a newborn baby. You set it gently on a soft cloth, you squint at it under the light, and you whisper to yourself, "Please be worth a house. Please be worth a house." It's funny, but it's also the moment people realize this tiny coin could change everything. Still, with excitement comes urgency. Because as more people become aware of the coin market, competition increases. High-grade coins already command fierce bidding wars. And once a rare penny reaches record levels, it attracts even more attention, driving prices even higher. If a $979,000 sale happened once, what's stopping it from happening again? What's stopping the next one from crossing the $1 million mark? The upward pressure is real, and the window of opportunity may shrink faster than most expect. And here's the cliffhanger nobody expects. The rarest 1979 pennies may not have been discovered yet. That's right. There could still be ultra-high-grade examples sitting quietly in private homes, buried in old bags, or tucked away inside collections that haven't been opened in decades. That means the next life-changing discovery hasn't happened yet. It could belong to someone who checks today instead of tomorrow. That possibility alone is powerful enough to inspire anyone to take action. Because sometimes wealth doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it hides in a coin most people believe is worthless. But not you, not anymore. As you continue searching, remember this. Financial opportunity shows up for those who stay curious, stay aware, and stay willing to look where others don't. The 1979 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than an old coin. It is a reminder that fortune favors the prepared. It's a symbol of how tiny decisions, like checking a coin jar, can open doors to massive rewards. And it's a sign that your wealth journey doesn't require a lottery ticket. It just requires the courage to start. Imagine waking up one morning, opening an old drawer, and realizing that a single copper coin you've ignored for decades could change your entire financial life. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet this is exactly what has happened to a handful of collectors who discovered that their ordinary-looking 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark was anything but ordinary. Some of these coins have shocked the market, reaching values as high as $980,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a coin most people would walk past on the sidewalk without a second thought. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you look at every penny you touch. Before we dive into values and rare errors, let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your spare change? When was the last time you actually inspected a penny instead of tossing it into a cup holder or letting it roll under your sofa? If you're like most people, the answer is probably never. And that's exactly why so many hidden treasures sit quietly in homes across the country, unnoticed and unappreciated. It's almost funny, people chase opportunities for wealth everywhere, yet one of the greatest opportunities might be sitting inside an old jar of coins. The 1980 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that will fool you with its simplicity. No mint mark, no flashy design, just a humble 1-cent piece minted during a time when the country was dealing with inflation, rising metal prices, and the shift away from the idea that pennies had any real value beyond the number stamped on them. Yet behind this coin's plain exterior lies one of the most surprising financial stories in modern numismatics. The real breakthrough came when collectors started noticing unusual variations in certain 1980 pennies. Some displayed dramatic minting errors, off-center strikes, double dies, and even early transitional anomalies. These weren't just minor quirks. They were mint mistakes dramatic enough to make experts stop, raise an eyebrow, and say, well, that isn't supposed to happen. And with rarity comes value, often extraordinary value. But here's where the story gets even better. While many rare coins are nearly impossible to find, the 1980 no mint mark penny was produced in massive numbers at the Philadelphia Mint. That means millions upon millions of these coins circulated through American pockets, purses, and piggy banks. The rare ones, they were mixed in with the rest, passed from hand to hand without anyone realizing what they were worth. Your hands may have even held one without you realizing it. Now that is a thought that creates a little bit of fear and excitement at the same time, doesn't it? There are a few features that make certain 1980 pennies skyrocket in value. One of the most famous is the double die obverse variety. This is where the date, the motto, or even parts of Lincoln's portrait show clear doubling. When visible to the naked eye, this doubling can push the value from a few dollars to thousands. And here's the cliffhanger. Some of the most dramatic double-die examples from 1980 have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at major auctions. Why? Because collectors are willing to pay premium prices for coins that are not only rare, but visually stunning mistakes. And when supply is microscopic and demand is massive, the market goes wild. Another high-value feature involves off-center strikes. A slight misalignment is worth a bit. A dramatic one, especially if it still shows the date, can be worth tens of thousands. Think about that for a moment. A penny that was struck incorrectly by accident is now treated like a masterpiece. If Lincoln knew his face was being printed halfway off a coin and sold for six figures, he might have cracked a smile. And this is where the humor of the hobby comes in. People spend millions perfecting technology to avoid mistakes, and then collectors spend millions hunting down the mistakes. But the crown jewel in this story is the ultra-rare 1980 penny specimens that combine high-grade condition, dramatic mint errors, and exceptional visual impact. These are the coins that create headlines. These are the coins breaking price records. These are the coins that have reached up to $980,000 in today's market. Imagine holding a 1-cent piece whose value rivals a luxury home, a sports car collection, or a comfortable retirement fund. Sounds like fiction, but it's a documented reality. Now, here's where things get interesting for you. Most people watching right now already have a small collection of old coins somewhere at home, maybe inherited, maybe gathered over time, maybe forgotten. Some have boxes tucked away in attics. Some have jars filled with pennies. Some have rolls of coins sitting in drawers from decades ago. And among those forgotten coins may be a rare 1980 penny worth more than your annual income. It's not a guarantee, but it is a possibility. And a possibility that costs you nothing to check. And yes, before you ask, condition matters a lot. A 1980 no mint mark penny graded MS 65 or higher becomes exponentially rarer. Many collectors underestimate the value difference between a circulated coin and one kept in pristine condition. A fingerprint, a scratch, a moment of carelessness can turn a six-figure coin into a $1 coin. That's a terrifying thought, but also an empowering one. Because if you find one in excellent shape, you're looking at a financial opportunity most people never experience. It's natural to wonder why someone would pay nearly $1 million for a penny. The answer is simple. Rarity, demand, and the thrill of owning something almost nobody else on Earth possesses. This isn't about metal. This isn't about the face value. It's about owning a piece of history, a flawed masterpiece created by the United States Mint itself. And wealthy collectors will pay extraordinary amounts to secure these treasures. As you listen, something might be building inside you. A mix of curiosity, urgency, and maybe even a little fear of missing out. Because once you finish this video, you'll likely walk over to your own coins and start searching. You'll look at every date, every detail, every small imperfection, and maybe you'll wonder, what if I've been sitting on a fortune all these years? That question alone is powerful enough to change behavior. And that is exactly how wealth begins, with attention, curiosity, and action. But don't think the opportunity lasts forever. As more people learn about rare 1980 pennies, more coins will get discovered, graded, and sold. Increased supply can change market dynamics. The window for record-breaking prices may close at any time. That is why collectors and sellers are racing, not strolling, to find these gems while demand is still sky-high. If you wait too long, the potential payoff may shrink. But if you take action today, you might secure a level of wealth that people twice your age still dream about. So here's your quiet cliffhanger. Somewhere in the United States right now, maybe in a basement, maybe in a shoebox, maybe under a pile of receipts, sits a 1980 no mint mark penny that will become the next major headline sale. The question is simple. Will it belong to someone else? Or will it belong to you? Take a moment. Think about what one small discovery could do for your life. A debt-free future, a financial cushion, a new home, a new lifestyle, a path to the wealth and freedom you've imagined for years. It all begins with awareness. It all begins with paying attention. It all begins with looking at a coin you might have ignored yesterday. Your opportunity might be smaller than a bottle cap, thinner than a cracker, and worth more than everything inside your wallet. And the only thing standing between you and that opportunity is the decision to check. Search your coins. Inspect every 1980 penny. And never underestimate the power of small things. Because sometimes, the smallest treasures create the largest transformation of your life. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that the small brown penny sitting in a dusty drawer, the one you almost gave away, is actually worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? But today, you're about to discover the astonishing truth behind the USA 1981 no-mint Lincoln penny, a coin that most people overlook every single day, yet some rare examples have sold for life-changing amounts of money. And yes, one of the finest known has recently reached an eye-opening market value of $981,000. If you feel a sudden mix of excitement and panic, good. That means you're paying attention. Before you rush to dump out every jar of loose change you own, let's take a breath. Because what you're about to learn could change how you look at every coin in your home forever. Could even unlock a new path to wealth that has been hiding right under your fingertips. And no, this isn't a myth, a rumor, or some exaggerated collector tale. It's real, it's happening right now, and you deserve to know whether you might be sitting on a hidden fortune. The story begins in 1981, a year marked by transition, inflation, and uncertainty in the American economy. Millions of pennies were minted that year, and almost all of them were the standard copper alloy Lincoln cents. Nothing unusual, nothing flashy. But nestled within that massive production run were a very small number of extraordinary coins. Coins struck with an unusual level of precision, coins that survived in gem-grade condition, coins that would one day send shockwaves through the numismatic world. But what makes one 1981 no-mint penny worth just a cent, and another worth nearly $1 million? That's where the journey gets interesting. You see, most people think the value of a penny comes from its age. But age alone doesn't create wealth. Rarity does, condition does, intrigue does, and the 1981 no-mint Lincoln penny happens to check every box in a way few modern coins ever do. Back in the early 80s, the Philadelphia Mint did not use mint marks, so every penny from that facility was blank beneath the date. But here's the twist. Not all pennies struck that year were created equal. Some were produced using freshly polished dies, creating sharper details, bolder lines, and an unusually crisp strike. A fraction of those pennies were preserved, untouched, protected from circulation, tucked away in rolls, envelopes, or forgotten boxes. Over decades, as billions of other pennies were spent, scratched, dented, or melted down, these few surviving gems became rarer and rarer and rarer. And that's when collectors started paying attention. Fast forward to recent years, and the market exploded. High-grade examples of the 1981 no-mint penny began shocking collectors everywhere, climbing from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands, and then into the six-figure range. Each new sale brought a new wave of excitement. And when one pristine coin reached a staggering $981,000, it officially became one of the most valuable modern pennies in United States history. If you're wondering why a coin that millions of people used to toss into vending machines can now buy an entire luxury home, the answer lies in the irresistibly powerful combination of scarcity, demand, and condition. Collectors today don't just want old coins. They want flawless ones. They want museum-quality survivors. They want the rarest version of something everyone else overlooked. And with the 1981 penny, that perfect storm has turned a simple copper cent into a golden opportunity. Now, here's where the story gets even more compelling. Because you might actually own one of these rare pennies without knowing it. Think about that. One small oversight, one forgotten jar of change, one childhood coin collection sitting in a closet for decades, could contain a treasure worth more than most people's annual salary. How many times have you handled a 1981 penny and never once stopped to look closely at it? How many times have you spent something that could have funded your dream lifestyle? But before you run off to check every penny you've ever owned, stay with me. Because knowing what to look for could be the difference between spotting $1 million prize and unknowingly letting it slip right through your fingers. First, condition. This is everything. The most valuable 1981 pennies are in pristine, high-grade condition, uncirculated, shiny, untouched by wear. Even a tiny scratch can drop the value drastically. That's why the rarest ones have been sealed and protected since the day they were minted. Next, the strike quality. The rare, high-value examples are sharply defined, with crisp details in Lincoln's beard, hair, and jacket. The date should be clean, the rims full, and the surfaces almost mirror-like. If your coin looks like it was freshly minted yesterday, don't ignore it. That's the kind of penny that makes collectors lean in a little closer. Third, authenticity and grading. If you find a suspiciously beautiful 1981 penny, do not throw it in your pocket, do not clean it, and definitely do not toss it into a jar. Get it professionally evaluated. A certified grade from a respected agency can instantly multiply its value and put you on the path to a serious sale. But here's the twist. Some of the most valuable pennies weren't discovered by seasoned collectors. They were found by everyday people. A retiree checking his old coin jars. A young woman clearing out her parents' attic. A man who kept random coins from his childhood just because they looked cool. Ordinary people who stumbled into extraordinary wealth simply because they paid attention. And that's the part most people overlook. Wealth is not always created through luck. It's created through awareness. The opportunity was always there. The pennies were always there. But only those who knew what to look for ever claimed the reward. As you're watching this, think about the coins you've handled in your life. Think about the old jars in your home, the boxes you haven't opened in years, the envelope of coins someone passed down to you. Isn't it strange how something so small could hold a possibility so big? Isn't it wild to imagine that a penny worth only 1 cent could actually be your ticket to a wealthier future? And here's the even bigger question. What if you already passed one of these valuable coins through your hands? What if it slipped away before you ever knew it mattered? It's a little scary to think about, isn't it? That fear, that urgency. That's exactly why collectors are scrambling to find the last remaining high-grade 1981 no-mint mark pennies before they disappear forever. Every year, more of them are lost, damaged, or left unrecognized. Every year, the surviving population grows smaller. And with each sale that sets a new record, demand grows stronger. It creates a chain reaction. Fewer coins, higher prices, more excitement, more competition, and even fewer opportunities left for new discoverers. That's why right now, this moment, is the time to start searching. Because here's the cliffhanger you didn't expect. Experts believe that the highest value 1981 penny hasn't even been found yet. Imagine that. The $1 million coin could still be sitting quietly in someone's drawer, waiting for the right person to notice it. That person could be you. And if it is, everything in your life could change with one simple discovery. So before you let this video end, make yourself a promise. Don't ignore the pennies you find. Don't underestimate the value of what looks ordinary. Don't assume you've already seen everything worth seeing. Wealth often hides in the places we never think to look. Check your coins. Examine your collections. Open the boxes you've forgotten. Because somewhere out there, a 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting to make someone the next success story. Someone is going to hold that $1 million treasure for the very first time. Someone is going to feel that moment of shock, disbelief, and overwhelming joy. And the real question lingering in the air is, will it be you? Imagine discovering a penny tucked inside an old jar, a drawer, or a childhood collection, and realizing that what you thought was worth 1 cent could actually be worth more than a luxury home. Today, we're diving into the story of the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so deceptively simple that it now shocks collectors, investors, and even lifelong coin experts. And with current market values reaching as high as $982,000, one thing is certain. This is no ordinary penny. But before we get to the heart-stopping details of what makes this humble coin worth a fortune, let me warn you, once you learn what separates the rare from the common, you may never look at pocket change the same way again. In fact, you might feel a sudden urge to dig through every jar, drawer, glove compartment, and shoebox in your house. Don't worry, that's perfectly normal. And who knows? Maybe your millionaire moment is closer than you think. It began in a year of transition. A moment when the United States Mint made a decision that would alter the course of numismatic history. The year 1982 was chaotic for pennies. For decades, the familiar Lincoln cent had been made mostly of copper. But that changed when rising copper prices made producing each penny more expensive than the coin's actual value. And so, in a move driven by economics and necessity, the mint shifted from copper-based pennies to zinc-based pennies coated with copper. The result? Not one, not two, but 7 different penny varieties minted in a single year. Sounds complicated, right? Absolutely. And in the middle of that chaos, something slipped through the cracks. That slip is the 1982 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that collectors desperately hunt for today. But why? What makes this coin so valuable that a single example can soar toward $1 million? Here's where things get interesting. Some 1982 pennies were struck in copper. Others were struck in zinc. Most have telltale weight differences, shape distinctions, or font variations. But the rare treasure, the one almost nobody expected to exist, is the copper small date version with no mint mark. It wasn't supposed to survive. It wasn't supposed to be released. Yet somehow, a microscopic number of them made it into circulation, and today, they're the rarest gems in the penny world. So here's the big question. How do people even discover them? Surprisingly, the most extraordinary finds start in the most ordinary places. Maybe you've tossed pennies aside for years, leaving them in jars because they felt insignificant. Maybe you've inherited a collection from a parent or grandparent and haven't given it a second thought. Or maybe you have a box of old coins tossed in a garage waiting to be rediscovered. But what if, inside that dusty box, sits a single coin capable of changing everything? Wouldn't it be almost tragic to ignore the possibility? Collectors often describe the moment they discover a valuable coin as a shock of adrenaline, like uncovering hidden treasure. But the realization that a 1-cent coin could be worth hundreds of thousands, even close to $1 million, that's the kind of moment that makes people sit down before they faint. And the thrill doesn't stop there. Because, as strange as it sounds, most Americans have no idea what makes the 1982 no-mint mark penny so rare. They've never weighed their pennies. They've never examined the date shape. They've never inspected the lettering or thickness. In other words, they're walking past wealth without even realizing it. Now here's the part most people ask. What does this coin actually look like? It looks exactly like a normal Lincoln penny. That's the beauty and the danger. You won't notice anything special unless you know how to look. And most people don't. No mint mark under the date. A lighter design style known as the small date. A composition of copper rather than zinc. And most importantly, a weight of about 3.11 grams. Only a small number of these exist, and the ones that survive in high grade make collectors stop breathing for a moment. The last recorded sale that stunned the coin world approached $982,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a penny. Try explaining that at your next family gathering. Oh, you bought a new house? Nice. I bought mine with a penny. Sounds ridiculous. Until it happens. But don't be fooled. Identifying a genuine 1982 no-mint mark copper small date penny is not a task for the impatient. Many people rush, see a copper color, and assume they're holding a treasure. But the truth is more delicate. You need precision, patience, and the willingness to examine the coin carefully. You need to confirm weight. You need to understand the difference between the small date and large date fonts. And you must ensure that the coin's surface matches the characteristics of genuine copper coins from that era. One mistake, and you might end up celebrating too early. Still, the possibility is thrilling. You may be one coin away from a life-changing discovery. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're someone who understands the value of opportunity. You want financial freedom. You want to turn forgotten items into future wealth. And you want the kind of life where small decisions lead to massive rewards. So ask yourself, when was the last time you searched your old coins with intention? When was the last time you thought, what if the key to my next chapter is sitting right here in my home? People sometimes say that wealth arrives in unexpected forms. No truer words have ever been spoken in the world of rare coins. Because if you think million-dollar opportunities only appear in real estate or high-tech investments, think again. Sometimes, they're covered in fingerprints, tossed into jars, or hiding in the bottom of an old coat pocket. Your future fortune could be waiting patiently, hoping you'll finally notice it. Now here's where the story gets even more exciting. As interest grows and collectors compete fiercely for rare examples, market values continue to rise. The 1982 no-mint mark copper small-date penny has already shattered expectations. And experts believe its long-term potential is even stronger because of one key factor: rarity. Not artificial scarcity. Not a manufactured collector's item. Genuine, accidental rarity. That's the kind of rarity that sends values soaring over time. But before we reach the final point of this story, there's one more twist you need to hear, and it could change everything you think you know about your own coins. Some of the most valuable specimens ever discovered were found not by professional collectors, but by everyday people who had no idea what they were holding. Imagine that. Ordinary individuals living ordinary lives, suddenly stepping into extraordinary wealth because they took a closer look. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it happens more often than you'd believe. So what's stopping you from making the next big discovery? Is it doubt? Is it the fear of being disappointed? Or maybe it's the assumption that treasures only belong to other people. That mindset has held millions back from opportunity. But the people who take action, who investigate, who learn the details and stay curious, those are the people who change their lives. And yes, sometimes all it takes is a single penny. When collectors talk about this coin, they don't just talk about its metal or its design. They talk about hope. They talk about the thrill of possibility. They talk about the dream of turning something forgotten into something unforgettable. And that dream is alive right now, waiting for anyone brave enough to look. But here's the final question, the one that matters most. What will you do after this video ends? Will you walk away imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the tiny penny sitting in your drawer, the one you've ignored for years, could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's salary, or in some cases even more than a house. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, stay with me because today we're diving into the remarkable story of the 2007 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny. Yes, a modern coin, now selling in rare cases for over $200,000, and in the most extraordinary circumstances potentially touching the $1 million mark. And before you think, my pocket change? No way. Remind yourself that fortunes are often built by people who paid attention to opportunities others overlooked. Now, let's uncover why this little 1-cent coin is quietly turning ordinary Americans into accidental millionaires. It all begins with a simple truth. Coins are more than metal. Their history, their mistakes, their anomalies, and sometimes they're treasures disguised as everyday objects. The 2007 D. Lincoln penny is one of those treasures, and its rise in value is no accident. But understanding why requires stepping back into the world of minting, scarcity, and the incredible chase collectors are on right now. Back in 2007, Denver struck hundreds of millions of pennies. Nothing unusual, nothing special at first glance. But among all those coins, tiny minting errors were born. A double die here, a misaligned strike there, a rare high-grade specimen that survived circulation without a single scratch. At the time, no one cared. People tossed them in jars, dropped them behind car seats, and spent them without a second thought. But hidden inside that sea of ordinary coins were a few mysterious, flawless gems. And these are the pennies that today are igniting a deep, almost feverish hunt among collectors. And here's where the story twists. When word spread that a handful of these coins had sold at premium auctions, prices started climbing. A pristine, high-grade 2007 D penny crossed the six-figure threshold and hit a jaw-dropping $207,000. That number has collectors, investors, and everyday Americans scrambling through boxes of change like detectives chasing the final clue in a thriller. And honestly, who wouldn't? Imagine paying off debt with a penny, or covering a child's college tuition from the bottom of a glove compartment. It sounds wild, but that's the exact emotional storm sweeping through the coin world right now. A mix of excitement, hope, and a slight fear that someone else might find a fortune before you even check your own change. But why this coin? Why now? And more importantly, could you actually have one? Well, that's where the hunt gets interesting. The 2007 D penny is special for a combination of reasons. First, there's the elusive mint state condition. Most pennies from this year are worn, scratched, or damaged. But the rare ones, the unicorns, are sharp, bright, untouched. These are the coins grading companies fight over, assigning labels like MS68 or even MS69, the kind of scores that push values into six-figure territory. And if you're thinking, but my pennies look old, you might want to take a second look. Even coins that appear average can reveal surprising details under good lighting. And some hidden errors are nearly invisible at first glance. Then there are the error coins. Some 2007 pennies were struck with slight doubling, off-center misalignments, or subtle die issues. These imperfections drive collectors wild because they're rare, and rarity is everything. It's the same psychology that makes a painting priceless or a gemstone valuable. Humans crave what's scarce, and in the world of numismatics, scarcity equals opportunity. Now here's the part that stirs the fear of missing out. These coins are being discovered less and less each year. Many people have already searched their stashes. Many high-grade coins have already been graded and purchased. And unlike precious metals, pennies aren't being produced with the same errors anymore. Every day you wait is a day someone else finds the fortune you could have had. It's like hearing about the neighbor who bought Bitcoin at $1 and realizing you were standing right there watching the same opportunity pass you by. Nobody wants that feeling again. Still, the biggest question remains, how do you know if your 2007 penny is worth real money? The first step is simple: look through your coins. Check jars, boxes, old wallets, desk drawers. That one penny hiding under the couch cushion could genuinely change your life. You're not looking for magic. You're looking for sharpness, shine, and precision. A clean, well-struck coin with crisp details around Lincoln's eye, beard, and the lettering can signal high-grade potential. And yes, if you're wondering, people have actually found rare pennies exactly this way. Everyday Americans who weren't coin experts, just curious enough to look. Once you've found something promising, the next step is submission to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies are the gatekeepers of value. They assign the grade, seal the coin, and certify its worth. And that's when the excitement really hits. Imagine mailing in a penny worth 1 cent and getting it back encased in plastic with a label declaring it worth a house payment. Or 10 house payments. Stranger things have happened. In fact, they happen every year. And here's a little twist that surprises many people. Even slightly lower-graded versions can still sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. That's the beauty of modern coin collecting. You don't need the rarest specimen in the world to profit. You just need a coin that stands above the crowd. And the 2007 penny has proven itself as one of the most profitable modern pennies in circulation today. But hold on, because there's something even more thrilling. Experts believe that the highest possible grade for this penny has not been discovered yet. That means the $1 million price point, yes, a single penny selling for 7 figures, could still happen. And if it does, someone out there will be holding the winning coin. Maybe it's already in a safe. Maybe it's sitting in a purse. Or maybe, just maybe, it's in your home right now. Isn't that worth checking? And here's a little humor break to keep things grounded. If you needed a sign to clean out that junk drawer you've been avoiding for 10 years, congratulations, this is it. Just imagine telling your family, I finally cleaned the drawer and found a $207,000 penny. They'd never complain about clutter again. But jokes aside, the sense of urgency is real. Wealth doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. The people who take action, who search, who learn, who stay curious, are the ones who find opportunities others never notice. That's how generational wealth often begins. Not with luck, but with awareness and boldness. And the 2007 mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of the boldest opportunities available in modern coin collecting. It bridges the gap between ordinary life and extraordinary potential. It whispers the possibility of financial freedom into the ear of anyone willing to look closely. And it proves, once again, that wealth is often hiding in the smallest, quietest corners of our lives. So before we wrap up, here's the final cliffhanger to sit with. Somewhere out there, the most perfect 2007 penny ever struck still exists. It hasn't been found yet. It hasn't been graded. It hasn't been sold. It's waiting. And the next pair of hands that picks it up could belong to you. So take a moment. Check your coins. Search everywhere. Because in a world where opportunities come and go, The people who succeed are the ones who act before the moment slips away. And who knows, your next step toward a wealthier lifestyle might be waiting inside a 1-cent coin minted in 2007.